So the story we're going to read today is about what could happen if we don't appreciate God's creation or take care of it. So go ahead, finger ready to follow along. You don't need to read the part in the italics. That's that slanted writing because I just told you this. So you'll start with the title, Cullen, and then just read until I tell you to stop. Make sure that you're reading loudly so that the girls at home can follow along because there's not really good places to stop here. There are paragraphs, but some of them are long and some of them are short. Some of them don't really look like a paragraph, so just read, and then every time you get to the end, just pause for a second. You don't even have to look up, just pause, and if I start speaking, that means stop. If I don't start speaking and like that, then keep going. Okay, so Cullen, go ahead. Everybody be ready to follow along. Zari, go ahead and tilt your camera down so that I can see you and what you're working on. Smith, tilt it like a teeny bit, not much at all, because I still want to see most of your face. There you go, that's good. Okay. Cullen, go ahead. Loud and slow.
One strong drink.
Not strong. What does that E do to the A? That silent E at the end, what does it do to the A? Think about our spelling list.
One strange dream.
There you go.
One day, Paul and Tony were walking home from school. Paul was eating a candy bar. As he took the last bite, he let the wrapper fall to the ground. Tony said, "Hey, you dropped your candy wrapper." So I don't need it anymore," answered Paul. "Haven't you ever heard that you shouldn't be a litter bug?" Paul retorted. That means he's being retorted means you're replying in a way that's kind of like sarcastic or like, you know? Okay. So start with Paul retorted. Paul retorted, "Knock it off. I don't need to be a goody two-shoe." Tony was disappointed. He thought that everyone should help take care of the earth. That night, Paul did not sleep very well. He kept tossing and turning. Then suddenly he saw two large green creatures with wings. They wrapped him in a sheet and flew off with him. Paul cried, "Where are you taking me?" But there was no answer.
Okay, thank you, Cullen. Go ahead and read next. Carla, loud and slow. Read, this is a pretty long one, so just read to that first, where the sentence ends early before the end. So the word sky, just read to the word sky.
After what seemed a very long time, the creature landed. Paul was set free. He looked around. Before him was the most beautiful sight he had ever seen. There was a lake so clear that he could see tadpoles swimming and a shiny rock on the bottom. He could see the sun reflecting in the sun.
Not in the sun. He could see the sun reflected in the
water and the blue sky he had ever seen. The description.
No, in the distance.
In the distance, he could see the top of the mountain. The grass was a bright green and that resembled.
Go slow, Carla. Make sure you're reading the letters that are there. Resemble.
Resembled plush carpet. There was all kinds of animals around. All of the animals had pellets to eat.
Plenty
to eat. Beautiful birds flew in the sky.
Okay, yes, thank you, Carla. Go ahead and read next. Smith. Make sure that your finger is still following along. Make sure that you're still following along with your finger. Go ahead, Smith. Just read and then pause at the end of the sections just for a second. If I don't say anything, keep going.
Paul turned to the two creatures and asked, Where am I? Who are you? I've never seen any place like this before. Where are all the people? The two creatures looked at each other, and then one replied, My name is Jake, and my friend's name is Joss.
Jose.
Jose. This is the planet Earth. You do not see any people because they have not been created yet. What? Exclaimed Paul. Jose explained, This is what the world looked like before man was created. Why are you showing me all this? Asked Paul. Jake and Jose wouldn't give Paul a reason. Jake would only reply, Take a look around you, Paul said. Everything is so clean and healthy looking. Why haven't I been to such a great place before? Again, there was no answer. Suddenly, there was a great wind. Paul felt himself spinning around. He spun so fast he became dizzy and couldn't see. Paul felt as if he were being lifted up and down. Suddenly, the spinning stopped, the wind was still, and he found himself sitting on the ground. Paul stood up and looked around.
Thank you, Smith. Go ahead and read next. Victoria, loud and slow so that everybody at home can follow along with you.
He was in the same place, but it looked somewhat different. Paul asked, Why have things changed?
Make sure you're following along with your finger, Victoria. Make sure everybody is following along with their finger.
Jose answered. Look around and see if you can notice what is different. Paul looked toward the mountains. Paul had trouble seeing the top of the mountains. There seemed to be a haze covering everything. There was no more tadpoles in the lake. He could barely see the petals.
Not petals. What are those letters? Close, but instead of D at the D sound, it should be the B sound. So pebbles.
Pebbles at the bottom. They were no longer shiny, but dull and gray. There weren't as many trees, and the grass had several worn spots. Some of the different kinds of animals had disappeared. Now there were tall, shiny buildings with smoke puffing out of the smokestacks.
A little louder.
A pipe coming out of one of the buildings was raining sludge into the lake. Paul noticed there were people walking around.
Pause. What is sludge? What is sludge? Victoria?
It's like in the Lorax, the sludge was going in the lake through the fish room.
What was it? Good. Yes, that did happen. But what was the sludge? What do you think of when you think of sludge?
The sludge was like the gas.
Kingston?
Like really chunky oil, like boiled milk.
Very good. So it's like a thick liquid. Usually when we think of sludge, we think of like this nasty, thick, smelly liquid. But it's almost not even liquidy anymore. It's like the consistency of mud, but it's really like nasty and smelly. So what do you think is happening? What has happened to change the world from that beautiful place to what Paul is seeing now? Zari?
People are being litter bugs.
They're being
And
litter
someone's
bugs.
taking
So what
care
are
of
they
the earth.
doing? What are we seeing? What is that word? I'm looking for a specific word that says what all this is. The sludge going into the water, the haziness in the air, the animals, some of them have gone extinct. What is that from? Smith?
Pollution.
Pollution. Very good. What does pollution have to do with religion class? Well, let's keep reading to find out. Victoria, go ahead. So everybody, finger where we left off. What are the first 4 words, Victoria?
Paul noticed there are 2 boys were eating.
2 boys were eating, so find 2 boys were eating. And use your finger to follow along.
2 boys were eating candy bars. They both threw the wrappers on the ground. Paul saw pop cans and fast food cartons on the ground.
Not cartons. It means the same thing, but it's a different word.
Containers on the ground.
Good.
A boat sped around the lake. Paul could see the gasoline from the old motor dripping into the lake. He wondered how anything could live in the lake.
Thank you, Victoria. Zadie, we're on page 29. We just read through kind of the first 2 paragraphs. We're at Paul remembered that he. So it's the beginning of a new paragraph, and it's Paul remembered that he. And Kingston, go ahead and read next. Remember, Kingston, you need to read loud and slow and stay loud so that the kids at home can hear and follow along, okay? So we're at Paul remembered that he. Zadie, did you find it?
Paul remembered that he would always drop his wrappers and paper on the ground. He wondered what.
So it's just saying he wondered. So he thought.
He wondered. Suddenly, a strong wind arose.
A little louder.
Again, Paul felt himself spinning around. Again, he felt dizzy as he was going up and down. Abruptly, the spinning stopped.
So, at the beginning of this story, or towards the beginning, we saw what the earth looked like before people were around. So way, way, way long ago in the past. When do you think what he just saw is happening? When do you think that's happening? Carla?
In the past,
What about what he just saw? The buildings, and then the kids like throwing their food or their wrappers on the ground, and the sludge going into the river or lake. I can't remember what it was. When do you think that is happening? Zadie?
In the future. Well, now.
Now. Right now. Because that sounds like stuff we sometimes see, right? I know, like, I have to go down Southern every morning to get to work, and there's always like trash on the sides of the roads. And if you go downtown, if you go to a river or a lake, sometimes if you look at the water, you can see like this shiny rainbow looking stuff. That's the oil from boats, the oil and gasoline from boats. So we see this kind of stuff a lot. We may not see the sludge going into the river in person, but we've probably seen that it happens on TV. Maybe you have seen it in person. So we see this type of stuff now. We see people throw their trash on the ground. We see it happen. Sometimes we may be the ones that do that. So this is what's happening right now. So where do you think he's about to go? We just read that then everything started spinning around and there was a bunch of wind. Well, when that happened before, he jumped from the past to the present And now it's happening again. Where do you think he's going to go? Without going further, where do you think he's going to go, Carla?
I think he's gonna go where he sees.
No, don't tell me where. Don't tell me what he's going to see, but where is he going to go? We saw him in the past, before human beings were created. So probably between the 5th and 6th day. Then we saw him now. So where do you think he's going to go next, Aaron? Maybe the future. Maybe after people are no longer here. Let's find out what that looks like. Who was reading? Kingston? Yeah, you can keep reading. We are at Paul looked around him. So everybody find Paul looked around him. Put your finger ready to follow along. I can tell that people are really paying a lot more attention now that I'm having you do this, and I can also see a difference in people's grades because it means they were actually paying attention the first time around. So we're going to keep doing this. This seems to be working. Do you feel like this is working, having to use your finger to follow along? Are you understanding and remembering a lot more? Probably. Okay, so we're at Paul looked around him. Go ahead, Kingston, loud and slow so that everybody, including the girls at home, can hear you.
Paul looked around him. Jose and Jake were still with him, but Paul thought he was in a new place. Where is this place? Asked Paul. Look around you. We are standing in the same spot. Only many years later, Jake replied. Adam couldn't believe his eyes. There were no trees.
They changed the name. It's supposed to be Paul. Sorry. It's supposed to be Paul. We're talking about Paul, not Adam. I don't know who Adam is. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
Paul couldn't believe his eyes. There were no trees and no grass. He couldn't see any of the mountains. Where was the sun? He thought he saw a hazy spot in the sky that might be the sun. The water had disappeared from the lake. Instead, the lake was thick, oily sludge. The buildings were no longer shiny, but were dusty. Gray, and empty. There were no people around at all. There were no people around at all.
That's good.
Paul didn't see any animals, birds, or fish. Instead of trees and grass, he saw piles of garbage decorating the land.
Does this remind you of a movie you've probably all seen at some point? About a little robot? What movie is it? It's a little robot. He goes round.
I never seen it.
You know what it is? It's Wall-E. Yes. Have you ever seen Wall-E?
I never seen it.
With the Disney movie with the little robot, it's a cartoon or maybe it's computer animated. And it's the little robot and his job is to clean up this barren land that all it has is garbage. And then we find out that's Earth. That's like what we're seeing right now. Is the Earth after humans have done what? Victoria.
Pollutionized it, trashed it, and treated it wrong.
Polluted it. I like the word you made up, but it's polluted. Polluted it. That was a good thought. I can see why you thought that might be it, but polluted. They polluted the land and now there's no people. So what do you think happened to them because they polluted the land so much? What do you think might have happened to them? Aaron?
They probably got extinct because all the animals weren't there anymore. We need animals to survive.
What else do we need that we don't see anymore? Aaron said they probably went extinct. Humans probably went extinct because of what they did, because there was no animals around. What else was there not anything that we need? Zari? You're breaking up, but I think she said grass. Oh, very good. Now you're
oxygen.
good. Grass and trees. The plants seem to be gone. which means what, if the plants are gone, what is there none of? Zari, you said it?
There's no oxygen.
There's no oxygen, which if there's no oxygen to breathe and no plants or animals for food, can we live? No. So, Kingston, thank you. Go ahead and keep reading. Zadie, loud and slow. Read the first 4 words of the place where we are. So that we can find it.
Paul picked up one.
Paul picked up one. Go ahead.
Paul picked up one of the rusty cans. He turned towards Jose and Jake.
Jose.
He turned toward Jose and Jake and asked, "Where are all the people and the animals?" Jose answered with the question, "What are some of the things people need in order to live?" "Food and water," replied Paul. Jake replied, "God loves us."
A little louder.
Jake replied, "God loves us. He created the world with everything in it. Then he created people. However, humans forgot to take care of his beautiful creations. Plants cannot live without clean air or water. Animals can't live without other animals, plants, and water. People need water. People get food from the plants and animals, but people have not taken care of God's creations. This is the result. You see what the earth is like because of neglect.
The word neglect means not taking care of something, ignoring it, or doing bad things to do with it. Keep going.
How can we change it? Can we save the world? Asked Paul. Jose said, "If people don't change their ways, they will destroy all of God's creations. You have just experienced what the world might look like in the future. If you and everyone else will begin to think about the earth and to take care of it, it does not have to end up this way."
Thank you, Zadie. Go ahead and read next. Ethan, make sure that you're reading loudly so that the girls at home can hear you, okay?
Suddenly a strong wind blew again. Paul felt dizzy and felt himself going up again.
A little louder. Good job, but a little bit louder.
When the motion stopped, he found himself in bed. Paul jumped up and looked outside. It was nice, sunny day. It wasn't nice sunny day. And the sky was clear blue. Oh, it was just a dream. I don't have to worry. Then he saw a rusty pot can. Maybe everything had really happened.
Good.
Paul
A little louder. You start out. You start out really loud, but then sometimes the more you read, you get quieter and quieter. So make sure your voice stays loud. Keep going.
Paul got dressed and ran to the park. He joined his friends at the food stand. After they had purchased their food, the friends walked along the path toward the lake. David dropped the paper sack when he took the food. Paul picked up the sack and threw it in a nearby trash can. Paul said, "You should be more careful." David couldn't believe his ears. Paul had never thrown anything away before. David just stood and stared at Paul. When they reached the lake, Terry flipped the lid to his orange juice container into the lake.
Joel.
Joel threw his glass at the ducks that were swimming by. What's the matter with you guys? Don't you know we have to take care of our earth? It's the only one we have. If we don't take care of it, we'll lose it.
Good. Oh, sorry. Good. Paul insisted. Very good. Okay. Oh, I thought we were done. But we have a little bit more. So sorry, this last person, you don't get to read a whole lot. But Carla, go ahead and read this very last little bit on page 30.
Hey, Paul, you're right. We do need to take care of our earth. I guess we didn't think about before, said David. I've been doing a lot of thinking. All of us have to take care of the earth and all of God's creations. We have to try to get other people to do the same, replied Paul. What kind of things can we do? Asked Joel.
Very good. Okay, so before we answer Joel's question, because we're going to answer Joel's question, let's think about this story. Now we know, is this story nonfiction? Is it a fact? Did it actually happen? Is it written from personal experience? Whatever. Zadie?
No.
No. But could this happen?
Yes.
Yes, it could happen. I mean, not the little green creatures, but it was a dream, so it could happen in a dream. But what I'm talking about is the way the earth looked in the future. That could happen. That could be what happens to our earth if what? Michaela? If we don't take care of it. If we let those things that Paul saw in the present that we've seen happen, if we let that type of stuff keep happening, where are we headed? Where are we headed? Victoria?
Where God and Jesus lived.
Well, maybe, hopefully, but where is the earth headed? I guess I should have clarified my question. Where is the earth headed? Zari?
Into pollution.
All the way into pollution, like we saw when I keep getting all the characters mixed up. Paul went to the future, or like what we've seen on WALL-E, except we won't be off in some space station on our little scooters that are like beds that we don't have to do anything with our TVs, and we just like order and somebody brings us food, and we're really, 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 really big that we can't even walk anymore. Because what'll actually happen to us if we let the world turn into what Paul saw in the future? What's actually going to happen to us? We're not going to escape to some space station. Kingston?
Well, if everybody can look at the world, we'll be going downtown and we'll be extinct.
We will be extinct. You know there's some animals and plants that are extinct, right? That used to be alive, but they're not anymore. I mean, the dinosaurs, duh. Saber-toothed tiger. And there's a lot of other ones too. There's actually species that have just gone extinct that we don't even hear about because it happens so often with some species. So,
Some of them are endangered.
And some of them are endangered, which means there's not many around anymore. And if things keep going like they are, they will be extinct. Well, that's happening mostly because of human beings. And if we keep doing that, well, eventually all the animals and all the plants are going to go extinct. We are also an animal, and we need those things. So what's going to happen to us? We are going to go extinct. So that's why we have to take care of the earth now. Like, I know you may be thinking, but I'm just one kid. How am I supposed to get everybody to stop polluting? Well, or littering, or whatever. Well, you may not be able to get everyone to stop littering, but you can get yourself to stop littering. You can talk to your friends and your family members if you see them littering. Be like, you shouldn't do that. You can make them feel bad about littering. If somebody feels bad about something, are they likely to do it again? Not as likely.
So if you make, it's okay. You can make your friends or your family feel bad for littering or doing something that could cause pollution. And maybe they'll stop. And at least that's something. That's better than no one stopping doing this. You can stop yourself. There is nothing stopping you from stopping yourself from littering. You may not be able to stop other people, but you can talk to your friends and your family members about it and try to get them to stop. They have to choose to, but if you're trying, maybe they'll listen to you. So let's look at this box in your own words. We're going to think of 5 ways that we can help take care of God's creation. So what I want you to do is take the next 5 minutes to come up with 5 things that you personally, you on your own, can do to take care of God's creations. And then we'll share them. So hold on. Well, you can go ahead and start. Yes, Carla?
I know one of the animals that is going extinct.
What is it?
Is a southern hop rocker penguin.
Mm-hmm. There are. A penguin, a type of penguin. So I know you like penguins. So. Okay. If you have questions or comments, we can save them for later, but right now you have 5 minutes to come up with 5 ways that you personally, on your own, can take care of God's creations. So go ahead. Your time starts right now. Okay, so we will practice the 3 R's, which means reduce, aka use less. Reuse, which means things that you have that can be reused, like water bottles or things like that. Use them again. And recycle, which means recycle. So Kingston, we're listing our best. Did you close the door all the way? I'm going around. Everybody gets to pick what they think is the best thing that they wrote, and then I'm writing it on the board. If you don't have it, you write that same thing in your book in that big empty space. So Victoria told us recycle. Smith told us use less machines and make more things by hand. Who told me this? Cullen said pick up litter. And Carla said practice the 3 R's, which is reduce, use less, reuse, buy things or use things that you can use over and over and over again, and recycle, which we know what recycling is. Yes, Cullen?
There's RE and there's RE in front of all 3.
Mm-hmm. That's because RE is a prefix that means do it again. Usually. Recycle means use it again. Reuse means use it again. Reduce, that's just the word. It actually doesn't mean deuce again, because that's not a thing. Okay. Aaron, which one do you have that you think is the best?
Replant trees when they are cut down.
Very good. Plant more trees when old ones are cut down. So make sure you're writing these things if you don't already have them on your list. That's a good one. That's another really good one. You guys are coming up with really good ideas. And we can all do these things, right? Because some of the things that we buy that are made, we can probably make by hand. Like a lot of our food. We can make it ourselves and cut down on all the trash and the machines and stuff that goes into making our food. Yes, Kingston?
Well, I have a comment on
Miss Paris?
Hold on, Carla. Kingston's speaking right now.
In 2018 or 2019, I don't know, there were a bunch of users planting trees.
Yeah. Because it's really important to plant more trees. Because the more trees there are, well, the less likely we are to lose them all.
It's some kind of like charity thing. I don't
Yeah.
even know.
Okay, Zari, what's your best one? Which one do you have that you think is the best? I think she might be first.
Stop smoking because you need the air.
Okay, good. It's not necessarily anything that we can do because none of you are smoking, but that is something people can do. Stop smoking, because even just the smoke from like a cigarette
causes some pollution, but also what part of God's creation are we taking care of if we are a person who smokes and then stops? Kingston?
Our lungs, because we get lung cancer.
Our lungs and ourselves. God's creation includes us. If we do things like this that are unsafe, well, then we're not taking care of God's creation. Very good. Okay, next. Zadie.
Before you buy, eat, drink anything, think of the consequences. Like if it's in a plastic bottle that you just throw away, think of it before you buy it.
Ooh, that's a really good one. That's one we can all do. Think of, that's a really good one. I like that. I wouldn't have even thought of that, but that is so true. Think of the consequences of buying an item before you get it. Ooh, that's a good one. Think, does it have a plastic bottle that then has to go somewhere? Does it have, which we can recycle plastic bottles, but the less we use, the less we have to worry about people not recycling them. Things that have like a wrapper made out of plastic wrap, you can't recycle plastic wrap. So that plastic wrap has to go in the trash. So maybe buy things that are wrapped in paper instead, if you can. Yes, Kingston, quickly.
So pretty much here's a summary of what Sandy just said. Buy before, think before buy.
Think before you buy. Exactly.
Yeah, I just thought of that. I use those ones when I'm riding my bike when I'm really thirsty and I have those little things I can put on my bike. Now I know to use like my big water bottles.
Exactly.
Like
Instead of buying new water bottles, just get a reusable water bottle. Instead of buying a big package of water bottles that you have to like throw away, like 24 packs, get one reusable water bottle and use that. And if your water tastes gross, and that's why you have the reusable water bottles, we'll get one of those water filters that you can pour the water into, and it filters out all the gross stuff so that the good tasting water is left behind. And then you can use that water to put into your reusable water bottle. Very good. Okay, Michaela?
Use less plastic for the environment.
Use less plastic. Good. Use less plastic. Plastic is one of the things that is the most often misused items. That's one of the objects that causes the most pollution, both the plastic after you've used it and the process of making the plastic. Carla, does Justin have his hand up?
He does. He wanted to tell you something.
Okay.
Hey, teacher.
Hi, Justin.
Hi. He wanted to say hi, and he was trying to say that if you recycle and reuse, they can make you like ton of things like toys like this.
Yes, if we recycle our old plastic and paper and stuff, they can make more out of it. So yes. Okay, good. Carla, make sure you're writing these though, okay? Okay, I have to erase because we're out of room and we still have a few people that get to go, So can I erase, I'll erase at least these top three. The top four. What? Sorry? Uh-oh, you're breaking
got
up.
them on when you were speaking. I got them on.
Okay, good. Okay, next. We have two people left. Ethan, which one do you have that you think is the best thing to do?
Use
Use less
less electricity.
electricity. Okay, good. Use less electricity. There is such a thing as light pollution. The more light there is, the less you can see at night, like in the sky. Yes, Victoria, quickly.
But then we won't be able to see.
Well, you don't have to, does it say use no electricity? No, what does it say?
Use less
Use less. So it's like if you're not in a room, what should you do before you leave the room? No, even if it's dark out, turn off the lights. If you're in a room and you have like 6 lamps on, do you really need 6 lamps?
No.
No, you can probably cut it down to 1, or if it's a big room, maybe 2. So yes, using less electricity. Also, that means all the process of getting the electricity into your home, which can be somewhat polluting, doesn't necessarily have to happen. Smith, do you have a comment?
Well, does use less energy kind of, is that kind of the same?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Because one of my friends that used to live here, her mom had to go to New York, and at night she says she can't see the stars because there's too much light.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that's light pollution that causes that. So then we don't get to see the beautiful things that God created for us, like the stars and the moon. Well, you can usually still see the moon, but the stars, you may not be able to see them, at least not all of them. And even here, we can't see all the stars. We can see a lot more than maybe in New York, but we still can't see as many as there actually are. Okay, we have one more person who's probably been waiting to go. Kingston. Which one do you have that you like the best? Be kind to animals and plants.
Well, they put animals and then like this and then.
Yeah, that's fine. So be kind to animals and to plants. You may think, how are you kind to plants? Well, you take care of them. You don't pick flowers every time you see them. You don't break branches off of trees because you're just like bored and you're just pulling on it. You don't pull leaves off of bushes as you walk past. You can pick them off the ground because nature made that happen. But don't do it yourself. Yes, Victoria.
I like what Kingston said because chimpanzees, it's a type of monkey, and they're really going extinct this weekend. I looked up how many are left, and there's only 32 left.
Probably of a certain kind, yeah. Exactly. There's some animals that there's only like a couple left. And there's some animals that there's no males and only females, or only males and no females, which means once the last of those die, there won't be any more because you have to have a girl rhinoceros and a boy rhinoceros to have a baby rhinoceros. So if only the boys are left, what's going to happen when that last boy rhinoceros dies? Sadie?
It's going to go extinct.
It's going to go extinct. So there are some animals that are already basically extinct because they can't make more, but some are still alive. So we have until they die to say that we have this animal on our earth. Yes, Aaron?
They also pick those
Sorry,
in the
Aaron's
zoo.
speaking right now. Aaron?
I have something like Kingston's. I said we can stop hunting animals so much.
So much, yes.
Teacher, come on.
Very good. We can stop hunting so much. We can stop over-hunting. Very good. Overfishing. Overdoing anything, really. Yes, Ethan?
Stop making animals fur, like using them for carpets or.
Yes, stop using animals for things like fur and clothing. Okay, Kingston, really quick, then we have to take our spelling test.
I'm talking about a company that's really, really bad at that is really bad at talking about animals. PETA. PETA, they're just horrible. Horrible people. They are bad at what they're supposed to do. They're literally trying to make people stop kind of like doing stuff, and they're bad at it.
Yeah, not in good ways. They have good intentions, but they're not doing it in ways that are actually helpful. Okay, very good. So you guys, this was a really good lesson. It was really fun. You guys had some really good ideas. Some of you came up with stuff that I would have never even thought of, but it's so good. So awesome job, guys. This is very important that we start doing this. A lot of this stuff we maybe can't do, but a lot of it we can do. So we should try to do these things whenever it is possible, because we need to take care of the earth and God's creation. If we don't take care of God's creation, what are we saying to God? Aaron?
We're saying that
We're not closing the book yet.
we're kind of
it might look like we're saying we don't care about God or his creation. If you give somebody a gift and then you see them throw it in the trash, how are you going to feel? You're going to feel really bad. You're going to be like, oh, I really thought you'd like that. I'm really sad now. So just think, when we mistreat the earth, that's how God feels. It also helps other people. Because if we're taking care of the earth, well, that means that other people are able to live more comfortably. Think about pollution in the air. People who have asthma and things like that, that makes it hard to breathe. Well, when there's a lot of pollution, that makes it even harder. So if more people are taking care of the earth and making the air more clean, well, that means those people with asthma or those people that get sick easily won't have as much of a problem. So very, very good. Okay, so we have to move on to spelling, our spelling test. So go ahead, clear your desks.